Hopes tonight that a post-Brexit deal for Northern Ireland could be announced within days. Rishi Sunak says his government is giving everything they've got to secure a new trade agreement with the EU. But will the DUP accept it? Also tonight, a show of support for the policeman shot in Northern Ireland and a message of defiance for the paramilitaries.
He's a high-profile job, but he gave of his time to support the local club here in the community, and it's just a total disgrace.
England's strike in Cardiff creating more misery for Wales in the Six Nations. And the Eurovision giveaway, free tickets for thousands of Ukrainians.
This is ITV News with Romilly Weeks.
Good evening. We have certainly been here before, but there are signs tonight that a new post-Brexit deal over the vexed issue of Northern Ireland trade really is on the brink of being signed. Tonight, Rishi Sunak has told a newspaper, "I'm here all weekend trying to get it done. We're giving it everything we've got." While the Irish Prime Minister believes they are inching towards a conclusion. Crucial to any final agreement is the reaction of the Democratic Unionist Party and Mr Sunak's own backbenchers. But after many false dawns and dashed hopes, no one is taking anything for granted. Our political correspondent Harry Horton reports.
It was supposed to get Brexit done. But now Boris Johnson's successor says a new agreement on Northern Ireland will finally finish the job. Intense talks between the UK and EU have been going on for weeks. A deal appears close. A UK visit by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, including afternoon tea with the King, was planned for today but cancelled late last night.
I think the talks on reforming the protocol are inching towards a conclusion. Certainly the deal isn't done yet, but I do think we are inching towards a conclusion.
The current protocol sees goods from Britain checked at ports on arrival in Northern Ireland, effectively creating a border in the Irish Sea. The new deal is expected to involve a green lane without customs checks for goods staying in Northern Ireland and a red lane with checks for goods destined for the Republic of Ireland and onto Europe. The Northern Ireland Assembly hasn't sat for more than a year, and unless issues with the current deal are resolved, including Northern Ireland being subject to some EU rules, the DUP says it won't return to Stormont.
The fundamental issue, certainly for myself and I think for most people in Northern Ireland pro-union, is that we are still going to be left under European Union law and therefore under the European Court of Justice. And as time goes on and Great Britain becomes diverged more and more from the European Union, Northern Ireland will be left further and further behind.
Rishi Sunak wants to secure the support of unionists in Northern Ireland and his backbenchers, but that won't be easy.
Some of these people will never be satisfied with the Prime Minister, so I just don't think he can afford to be held hostage by the extreme Eurosceptic elements in his party.
The Prime Minister hopes his deal will resolve practical problems like trade for Northern Ireland. But unless he can sell his agreement, he may end up creating a political problem for himself.
Harry, this all feels very familiar, but the noises really are optimistic. When might we see a deal?
Well, I think soon. If you speak to Tory MPs, they say they've been told they have to be in Parliament on Monday. So I think we will get the deal presented in some form in the next 48 hours or so. The Prime Minister said in an interview with the Sunday Times tonight he's working all weekend. He says, "We've got unfinished business on Brexit and I want to get the job done." But getting this agreement with the EU is just the first hurdle. He's also got to get the support of his backbenchers and, crucially, the blessing of the DUP. Now, if he can get this done, I think Rishi Sunak will feel this is quite a big win for him. But you only need to speak to former Prime Ministers to tell you that finding consensus on this issue is very difficult and it is fraught with political peril.
Absolutely. Thanks, Harry. Hundreds of people marched through Omagh today to send a message to paramilitary groups that they reject a return to violence. It was also a show of support for the senior policeman shot on Wednesday. Detective Chief Inspector John Caldwell remains critically ill in hospital after being shot several times in front of his young son. 5 people have been arrested and police are treating his attempted murder as terror-related. They say the dissident Republican group, the New IRA, are their prime suspects. Neil Connery reports.
In Berra village outside Omagh, the youngest generation led the way of a community united in solidarity. Hundreds showing their support for the senior police officer shot in front of his young son. John Caldwell had just been coaching the under-15 Berra Swifts football team when he was attacked.
We're here in support of our friend John and for all the children that have been affected by the actions during the week. It's been a very difficult time for the club. It's been a very difficult time, I think, for the community.
Detective Chief Inspector John Caldwell remains critically ill and sedated in hospital after the shooting. The police service of Northern Ireland's main line of inquiry is focusing on the dissident Republican group, the New IRA. 5 men arrested over the attempted murder remain in custody. Those on today's walk spoke of why it was important to be here.
John was just an easy target. Yes, he's a high-profile job, but he gave of his time to support the local club here in the community, and it's just a total disgrace.
Just to show the solidarity between the clubs, and that you wouldn't want this to happen to anybody. So we're all just here together.
Just for support for Berra. There, obviously, our boys were at the scene as well there, and this is just a great gathering and a demonstration of our support for the club.
Later, a rally was held outside Omagh's courthouse, organised by trade unions. The placard summing up the reaction to the shooting. Today's rally was near the site of the 1998 Omagh bombing, the single most deadly atrocity of the Troubles, which killed 29 people, carried out by the real IRA. In a week when Omagh has been revisited by violence, its defiance couldn't be clearer. Neil Connery, ITV News.
Police searching for the missing sister-in-law of actor Mackenzie Crook have found a body. 62-year-old Laurel Aldridge was reported missing from Bulletin in West Sussex on Valentine's Day. Her brother-in-law, Mackenzie Crook, best known for roles in The Office and The Detectoress, had made public appeals for help in finding her. Divers searching the Firth of Clyde after a tugboat capsized have recovered the bodies of 2 men. It sank near Greenock yesterday. It's understood they were the only people on board. And former MP Luciana Berger has rejoined the Labour Party after Sir Keir Starmer offered her an apology for the anti-Semitism she suffered. She left Labour in 2019 over anti-Jewish racism she said grew under former leader Jeremy Corbyn. Sport, and it's been a trying week for the Welsh rugby team. The players nearly went on strike, which would have cancelled today's match against England in the Six Nations. Maybe they now wish they had, because they were soundly beaten by England after a hard-fought game. It was England's first Six Nations win in Cardiff for 6 years, as Chris Scudder reports.
In front of the Prince and Princess of Wales, although Kate was backing England as patron of the Rugby Football Union, the end of a troubled week for Wales. With their players off the field, contract troubles now behind them, it was England who would be the ones to strike on it. Indeed, Wales had barely turned up when Anthony Watson went over for a try.
Move away, the try is beckoning for Watson!
England's mixed record in Cardiff meant they could ill afford any charity, but that's exactly what they offered, gifting an interception try to Lewis Rees-Zammit, Wales in front early in the second half. Then, within minutes of that setback, Kyle Sinclair forced his way over to get England back into the lead.
Here's the try.
If that upset one half of the royal couple, there was little argument about the outcome when Ollie Lawrence wrapped up the victory with a third try. England's first Six Nations win in Cardiff since 2017, while for Wales, maybe just being there at all was a small victory. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
Earlier, Ireland weathered a spirited performance from Italy to keep their Grand Slam hopes alive in Rome. A breathtaking first half saw the Six Nations favourites score 4 tries. Underdogs Italy kept themselves in touching distance and put the Irish under pressure throughout. But the final score was 20-34 to the visitors. Sir Andy Murray's dream of another tour singles title, the first for more than 3 years, ended today in the Qatar Open final. But despite that, there were still some moments of Murray magic, like this winner. In the end, the 35-year-old who had hip surgery 4 years ago was beaten by another former world number 1, Daniil Medvedev, in straight sets. And finally, it should have been Ukraine's year to host the Eurovision Song Contest, but war ended that dream. Now the organisers want to make sure thousands of Ukrainian fans will still be able to attend the event in Liverpool. 3,000 free tickets are being given away to Ukrainians who fled to Britain, as Danny Sinha reports.
Ukraine!
When Ukraine won Eurovision last year, it was a bittersweet moment. The country was just a few weeks into the war, throwing everything into disarray. Ukraine's commentator had to broadcast from a bomb shelter. And the winning group Kalush Orchestra needed special permission to leave the country. They will, of course, be performing again at this year's big event, this time, though, in Liverpool. Now 3,000 tickets are up for grabs for Ukrainians who fled the war and came to the UK. Like the Barty family.
We are so excited, definitely, and it's 160,000 for Ukrainians. Definitely not all of them can enjoy the Eurovision content, but still, it's more than a lot. So I think it's going to be a huge event. It's going to be something special. It's not going to be normal. It will be emotional.
The UK government has also announced £10 million in funding to make sure this year's extravaganza truly showcases Ukrainian culture. The theme is United by Music, and the money will go towards making that happen. After a year spent under the shadow of a brutal conflict, it's hoped music will provide a moment of light relief and shine a light on Ukraine's continued plight. Danny Sinha, ITV News.
Should be quite a night. The weather is next from me and the whole weekend team here. Good night.